Here's something that sounds like a trick, but isn't. One of the simplest investments ever created has quietly beaten most professional investors for decades. No stock picking, no watching the market all day, no genius required. It's called an index fund, and it's the boring, almost invisible engine behind a huge share of everyday millionaires. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what an index fund is, why it works so well, and how an ordinary person actually uses one to build real wealth. Let's start with the trap most people fall into. When you picture investing, you probably imagine picking winners, finding the next great company before everyone else, buying low and selling high. It feels like that's the whole game. So people tend to do one of two things. They freeze because picking the perfect stock sounds impossible. Or they dive in, chasing tips and hot stocks they heard about somewhere, and quietly lose money over the years. Here's the uncomfortable truth the industry doesn't advertise. Picking individual winning stocks consistently over decades is brutally hard. Even most highly paid professional fund managers, people who do this full-time with teams and data you will never have, fail to beat the overall market average over the long run. Sit with that for a second. If the experts mostly can't win this game, what are the odds you'll win it by reading a few headlines and acting on a hunch? For most people, stock picking isn't really investing. It's gambling with extra steps. You probably know the type. There's always a friend who bet big on one hot stock and won't stop talking about the win. And what you never hear about are the 3 other bets that quietly went nowhere. Pinning your future to a single company isn't a strategy. It's a story you tell yourself while crossing your fingers. So here's the idea that quietly changes everything. What if, instead of trying to find the needle in the haystack, you just bought the whole haystack? That's an index fund. An index is simply a list that tracks a big slice of the market, say, hundreds of the largest companies in a country's economy. An index fund is a single investment that holds a little piece of every company on that list. So when you put money in, you're not betting on one company. You instantly own a tiny sliver of all of them, hundreds of businesses, across every industry, all working for you at the same time. If one company stumbles or even fails, it barely moves the needle, because it's just one small piece of a very big basket. You're no longer trying to pick the one winner. You own the winners and the losers together. And historically, the basket as a whole has drifted upward over the long run, because the broad economy keeps growing over time. And here's the quiet beauty of it. You never have to know which company will win. You don't have to be right about anything specific. You just have to own enough of the whole market that the winners, whoever they turn out to be, are already sitting in your basket. Now let me show you why this boring approach is so powerful, and it comes down to 2 reasons. The first is fees. When you hire an active manager to pick stocks for you, you pay for that effort, often around 1% of your money every single year. 1% sounds harmless. It isn't. A broad index fund, by contrast, mostly runs on autopilot because it just mirrors the list instead of paying a team to guess. So its fee can be a fraction of that, sometimes just a few hundredths of a percent. Watch what that gap does over time. Picture investing $10,000 and leaving it untouched for 30 years, earning, let's say, around 7% a year before fees, a rough figure based on long-run historical averages. Not a promise. In a low-cost index fund, charging almost nothing, you might end up somewhere around $70,000. In a fund quietly charging 1% a year, that same money might land closer to $57,000. Same market, same starting amount, tens of thousands of dollars. Gone, not to bad luck, but to a fee you barely noticed. That gap is your money, and it only grows wider every year you keep holding. The second reason is compounding. Because the basket is so diversified, you can comfortably leave it alone for decades. And time is the real engine here. The money your investment earns starts earning money of its own, and that snowball builds on itself. Slowly at first, then surprisingly fast in the later years. The boring part, owning everything and doing nothing, is exactly what lets compounding run undisturbed. Every time you sell and rebuy, every time you panic and jump out, you interrupt that snowball and reset it. Doing nothing isn't laziness here. It's the entire strategy. So how does an ordinary person actually do this? A few plain steps. Step 1. Open the right kind of account. To invest, you need an investment account, a brokerage account, or a retirement account like a 401k at work, or an IRA. If your job offers a 401k with matching, that's usually the first place to look, because the match is essentially free money added on top of what you put in. Step 2. Understand what a broad, low-cost index fund is. As a category, not a specific product I'm naming for you. Two features matter most. It should be broadly diversified, holding a wide slice of the market instead of one narrow corner. And it should be low cost. That cost number has a name, the expense ratio, and for broad index funds, it can be remarkably small. Lower is better. You might hear these funds described as total market or large company index funds. Those are just different flavors of the same simple idea. Own a broad chunk of the market in one move. Step 3. Automate it and then leave it alone. Set up an automatic transfer, even a small amount every payday. That buys the fund on a schedule. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it quietly removes the hardest part of investing, your own emotions. You buy steadily whether the market is up or down, instead of trying to guess the perfect moment, which almost nobody can do reliably. The beauty of automating is that the decision happens once. After you set it up, investing stops being a thing you have to remember or feel brave enough to do. It just runs in the background, like a subscription that quietly builds your future. Step 4, and this is the one that truly separates the people who build wealth from the people who don't. Do nothing on purpose. The market will drop sometimes. It always has, and it always will. When it does, every instinct screams at you to panic and sell. The entire strategy depends on you not doing that, on staying in your seat, letting the automatic buys keep running, and giving compounding the decades it needs. And history is reassuring here, even though nothing is ever guaranteed. Every major market drop so far has eventually been followed by a recovery and, in time, new highs for the broad market as a whole. The people who got truly hurt were usually the ones who sold at the bottom and locked the loss in. The hard part of index investing was never the math. It's emotional, boring, consistent, and patient beats clever and frantic almost every single time. So here's the whole thing in one breath. Trying to handpick winning stocks is a game even most professionals lose. So instead of hunting for the needle, you buy the entire haystack, a broad, low-cost index fund that hands you a tiny piece of hundreds of companies at once. It works for two simple reasons. It keeps fees brutally low, and it lets compounding run for decades while you sit still. You open an account, you automate small, regular buys into a broad, low-cost fund, and then you do the hardest, most boring thing in all of investing. You leave it alone and let time do the heavy lifting. That's the whole machine. That's the unglamorous machine behind a huge number of quiet, everyday millionaires. No genius, no luck, no crystal ball, just the whole market, rock-bottom fees, and patience. And you don't need a fortune to begin. You can start small. Even a modest automatic amount each month puts this entire machine to work for you. And you can always turn it up as your income grows. The best time to plant this kind of tree was years ago. The second best time is today. If that took the mystery out of investing for you, then subscribe, because the next one breaks down the HSA, the single most powerful account most people completely ignore, and the rare account that can save you money on taxes 3 separate times. And one quick reminder before you go, this is general education, not financial advice. The numbers here are simple long-run illustrations that change over time, not a quote or a promise. So always do your own research and consider talking to a qualified professional before you invest.